You're a high performer and you struggle to make clear decisions. Now, I want to emphasize on the high performer part because, in general, the reason why people struggle to make clear decisions very often is because they struggle to trust themselves. Now, in this video, I want to focus more on the high performer part because the reasons why people in general might struggle to make clear decisions compared to the reasons why you, as a high performer, might struggle to make clear decisions. I truly believe and think that they are very different and distinct to each other, from each other. So, in a separate video, I talked about why people in general struggle to make clear decisions. And the video is titled Why You Struggle to Trust Yourself and How It is Impacting Your Decisions. Now, that video is going to be linked either here or here towards the end of this particular video. But let's talk about you as a high performer. So, if you're a high performer, that indicates that you are someone who is solution driven, you are solution oriented, you are someone who have a track record for actually doing a lot and accomplishing a lot. And I want to emphasize on that because if you are someone who has a track record and there's so many evidence that you are someone who have done so many amazing things and accomplished so much, then I don't understand why you struggle to trust yourself or why you struggle to make clear decisions. Now, this is not to shame you, because in this video, I want to cover three main reasons why you, as a high performer, are struggling to make clear decisions. There is a fourth reason, which I am treating as the bonus reason. And I am so new. I am so new at recognizing this fourth reason. And I learned about it recently. Honestly, I think it's only been a few weeks, maybe 3, 4 weeks, since I realized this thing about myself. And it is something that I am learning and I'm trying to be more intentional about. But anyway, let's jump into the first three core reasons why, as a high performer, you are struggling to make clear decisions. We'll start with reason number one. Reason number one is that you've learned to make smart decisions instead of decisions that are aligned. I will say that again. You are struggling as a high performer to make clear decisions because you are more focused on making smart decisions instead of making decisions that are more aligned. Let me explain this. So, as a smart person or as a high performer, you are more likely to analyze what the impact of decisions have, right? So you are not someone who just make a decisions casually and you just jump and go ahead. You think very carefully, and you're naturally someone who analyze the risk and the different consequences and things that go into a decision making. So instead of you making a decision, you are so more focused on, man, I want to make sure that I make the right decision. So because you are so focused on trying to make the right decision, you want to make sure that your decisions are things that are naturally smart, right? And you might be wondering, hello, mama, like, why in the world would it be wrong for me to make smart decisions? Sometimes it is wrong to make smart decisions. And I know. It sounds crazy. But sometimes it is wrong to make smart decisions because when you are more focused on making smart decisions, all your focus is on making sure that you are not wrong. Your focus is on making sure that people can look at your reason and go, well, yeah, of course, like logically that makes sense. So you are more focused on the logic of things. But the thing is that it gets to some point in your life where you have to recognize that the most important thing in life when it comes to making decisions is making decisions that are aligned to your spirit, making decisions that are aligned to your skills, making decisions that are aligned to your core belief. So if, for example, I'm making a decision about something, and for majority of the people, that decision makes no sense. But I have spent so much time really thinking about the things that I want in life. I have spent so much time really thinking very carefully about the things that I want out of my life. I have spent so much time with myself thinking about, if I was on my deathbed, what would I want to be able to say my life? Do I want to be able to say, like, man, I am so thankful for the way that I live my life? Do I want to say I have accomplished the goals that God has put in my heart? Or do I want to say that I have done things that were just impressive to people? That I have done things that the people in general were, give a opinion about, and the majority of the people agreed with my decision. Making a smart decision very often leads you into this path of making the decisions that most people will agree with, instead of just taking the time and just pushing back for yourself and taking a step back and actually making decisions that are aligned with your spirit. So I'll give you an example. Maybe you're someone who is in a particular career field, and you are in this career field and you've recognized that being in this career field no longer feels aligned with you. But the people in your life tell you that, but it pays so well. There's all these opportunities, there's all these people that you have connection with because of this career path, but you've had a degree, you've studied so hard to make sure you get in this career. Why would you want to give it up? Well, you have spent so much time in this field, you spent so much time in this relationship, you spent so much time in this friendship. Why would you just want to give that up? That is making smart decision. When you spend more time in the logic of why something should be the way it is, instead of you just really tuning into your spirit and asking yourself, man, when I just take a moment and I pause, does this feel right to me? So part of the reason why you're struggling to make clear decisions is because you're more focused on making sure your decision is smart instead of making sure your decision is aligned with you. So that is one of the reasons why you might be struggling to make clear decisions. So this week, I want you to take some moment and think to yourself, when you find yourself struggling to make a decision, ask yourself, am I struggling because I am trying to make a smart decision? Or am I struggling because I have not yet realized whether or not this decision is aligned with who I am as a person, with my spirit, with my heart, and just with the things that I want out of life? Now, the second reason why you might be struggling as a high performer to make clear decisions are reason number two. So, that's a high performer, you are able to get a lot done, right? You're someone who is able to work a lot of hours. You are able to take on extra projects at work because you're someone who is trusted, right? You are trusted that if you say you're going to get something done, you will get it done. You know for yourself that if you have a project and something that you care about, you will put in the hours to get it done. So, because you can get so much done, you figure that it is okay to take on a lot. Now, how is taking on too much just because you can? How is that impacting your ability to make clear decisions? You have to be able to have time in your life where you are focused on things that matter the most to you, where you are focused on things that move the needle. Now, if you're spending so much time working on so many projects and juggling so many projects unnecessarily, what that does is that it clouds your judgment because you are not having enough time to just think and pause and just process what you're working on and give your full energy. Because at the end of the day, you are not a machine, right? And truthfully, even machines like my computer, I am learning to shut my computer down at the end of every week or every other week at least, because at the end of the day, when my computer stays in action all the time, when it stays in sleep mode and it has not been shut down, it has not had the time to just completely shut down, my computer starts to do this thing where in the middle of me doing work it slows down, and I get frustrated and I say to the computer, I need you to work for me because I need to get a lot done and you are slowing down. But the reality is that my computer is slowing down because I have not given it the proper treatment of letting it rest. So if a computer or an AC or a TV or a cell phone or any device, if a computer requires to take breaks, what makes you think that taking on so much without having to take proper break, what makes you think that taking on too much is going to actually help you to make clear decisions? It won't. If you take on too much just because you can, if you're someone who feels that because you can actually go on and pull up late night and work 24/7 because you can, just because your body feels like it can, does not mean it should. And if you are struggling to make clear decisions, it might be because you are taking on just way too much. Another reason why you, as a high performer, might be struggling to make decisions, truthfully, it is not that you are afraid to make decisions, it is that you are afraid of the consequences of decisions. Again, going back to being a high performer and having to analyze everything, you are someone who people usually look up to. There are chances that people usually look up to you because they've seen evidence over and over that you're someone who get a lot done and you do well. So because of that, you've learned to just play it safe. You don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to do something and then it turns out that things did not work out the way you wanted them to work out. So you're not afraid of making decisions. You are afraid of the consequences of what your decisions might hold. Now, we're going to talk about another reason why you may be struggling to make clear decisions as a high performer. And that reason is that you do not give yourself enough time to pause and reconnect with yourself. So I just realized this week because I think I was listening to either a podcast or something, and someone said something that made the light bulb go in my head. And the person said that it is important. I just wish I can give credit to who this person was because I don't remember. The person talked about how it is so important to give yourself time to transition into different things. So what I realized was that I am someone who go from task to task to task to task. And sometimes I wonder, man, I was just in this meeting and there were all these to-do lists and I was supposed to follow up with this person and I completely forgot to follow up with this person and I get frustrated with myself because I did not remember that to-do list I had to do, or I did not prepare the minutes of the meeting in advance to share with my team. So then I get frustrated. And when the person talked about the importance of taking time to pause and reconnect with yourself, it made me realize, oh my gosh, that is what I've been missing because I've been spending so much time going from one thing to another that I do not take the proper time to transition. What this looks like is that at the end of one meeting, what I should be doing is taking a moment to reflect on how that meeting just went. It's taking a moment to reflect on the things that came out of that meeting. Maybe there's someone that I need to follow up with. Instead of me just taking a moment to pause and just reconnect about what I thought about the meeting, I usually just jump straight into another meeting. And then I will say this, my bosses have this thing where they would randomly ask me, Maman, what did you think about that meeting? And it catches me off guard every single time. When I first started working for my company, I work for a university. And when I first started working for my company, my boss, she will always ask me, what did you think of that meeting? And every single time, I would get so caught off guard. And at some point, I started feeling frustrated that my boss was asking me what I thought about the meeting because I work as an executive assistant. So many of the times, my role in some of these senior leadership meetings is to take notes and make sure that things go smoothly. So I don't always think that my views are not in general, but in these meetings, I don't always think that my views are really essential. So when I'm in these meetings, I don't really take time to process what my thoughts and feelings are about what people said or how the meeting went. Usually I take notes, I make sure the meetings run smoothly, I make sure that everyone have everything that they have, and I move on. So when my boss will ask me, what did you think of that meeting? I will get caught off guard because I am just like, why are you asking me what I thought about the meeting? So when I started realizing, I started getting a little bit frustrated, and then I realized that the reason why I don't usually really know my thoughts about the meetings is because when I get out of the meeting, I go straight into the next task. I do not give my brain some time to just pause and process what just happened in this meeting. What was just discussed in this meeting? What were some of the results that came out of the meeting? What were some of the things that were said, and who are the people I need to follow up with? I have not really done that. And because of that, when I'm asked what I thought, I do not really have much of a value to contribute. And that is something, as someone who is a high performer, as someone who wants to accomplish a lot in life, as someone who wants to be results oriented, you can't go into one thing to another thing without really taking time to actually analyze how those things went and how you can learn from it. So, one thing I will challenge you to do is I want to challenge you to do what I'm doing, what I'm learning, which is after you transition from one thing, maybe for example, I finished recording this video, right? And perhaps right after this, I'm going to go to church, or after this, I'm going to go to the store. Instead of me just hitting stop record and just jump in the car and go to church, or jump in the car to go to the store, maybe I will take just 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and I'm just going to stop and pause and think, okay, how did this go? What are some things that I learned from this process? Or just what are some things I need to follow up on? Or what are some fresh ideas that came to my mind as a result of this thing that I just did? So just take some time to pause and just think through things before you jump to the next task or the next project. Now I will say at the description of this video, as well as the pinned comment below, I've also added a self-trust reset guide. And this is a guide where if you're someone who noticed that you struggle to trust yourself, you struggle to make clear decisions, I want you to really download this guide and walk through it. Because what it's going to do is that it's going to walk you through some questionnaires and some prompts to really guide you into understanding why is it that you might be struggling to make clear decisions? Why is it that you might be struggling to trust yourself? And some of the ways that you can actually help yourself to learn to have that relationship where you're able to have that self trust again. If this video was helpful, make sure you share with someone who could use these tips as well. And if you know someone who is a high performer and they struggle to make clear decisions, this may be a moment that you might just love that person enough, as cliche or corny as it might sound. I want you to love that person enough to share this video with them because it could be the one thing that helps them this week.